And welcome back to the Sideline Chat podcast, where we now bring you your Betfred Super League Round 3-4 debrief. Well, Round 3 certainly had a lot of questions to be asked, and we'll start with those questions. The Catalan Dragons getting away from the Leeds Rhinos in a really strong defensive display, 10 points to 4.
It certainly was, but as I've said, and you probably agree with me over the last few weeks, Catalan have not been themselves, and yet again it's shown. They usually will get destroying teams, but they just were nowhere again. Like, what's happening to them?
Readjustment. I will say it has been a readjustment period, but they were starting to show signs again. Maybe not as well as they did against Wakefield the week prior, but they are starting to try and click into gear after that humiliation at the hands of St. Helens.
They are. So it's a little bit against, but is it still is? Are they missing Maloney still too much? Is that the problem?
It's hard to say, but really, Mitchell Pearce. So far, I haven't seen him impose his authority.
No, he hasn't. He's gone over there to try and replace Maloney. He hasn't done that much. He's been quiet across the first 3 matches.
One man who has, of course, shown his authority, reigning man of steel, Sam Tompkins, once again chiming into that back line on that nice sweep they had out the back. Caught the Leeds defensive into right edge, short, and that beautiful ball out to Fuad Yahar for Catalan to score that equaliser. That was Shishkis.
That was. And that's what a Catalan side that we're used to seeing. Week in, week out last season. But we haven't really seen that this season. So to show that they can still do that, let's hope they can continue that on.
Their defensive resolve, especially when they lost Mitchell Pearce to the sin bin, I have to applaud that, because I was thinking for like 30 minutes that any moment the Leeds Rhinos could find a way through.
They could have.
The second try that got denied for Fuad Yahar, that was a big turning point, because I thought Leeds would have gained a lot of confidence out of that.
You would, well, they still would have, even though they didn't eventuate, but they did well, Catalans, to hold the Rhinos out.
And there were just too many missed opportunities from Leeds, especially when Catalan were down to 12 men. And there were players dropping left and right.
There certainly was, but I had to say credit goes to him for holding up, and Leeds just couldn't get through them, which generally with 12 men down, it's usually an advantage to the side that's got the 13, but they couldn't really capitalise on it.
Now, Sam Tompkins was missing for the rest of that game. We don't know the extent of his injuries, but we do know Tyrone May was playing at fullback for a stretch of that period. Is it concerning if they lose Sam Tompkins?
I reckon it will be, because he's been one of the key players so far this season, and as he is every year. And if he's not there, Catalans could slide a bit more, and depending on how long he's out for, which I hope he's not out at all, but if he's out for like 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 1 to 3, however you'd say it.
The good news is, though, they are going to get, within weeks, they are going to get Gil Dudson back.
That would be good.
And then Dylan Napa comes back in as well.
That will be also good.
If they can hold up without going to the judiciary a week.
Yeah. Look, when they get Gil Dudson back and Dylan Napa back, they will be pretty much full strength from there on in, so hopefully they'll start going back to how they were in 2021. But if Sam Tompkins is out, and with Dudson and Napa still out, that's going to hurt them even more.
The one player that stood out well for me was Fuad Yahar. Of course, he was the first try scorer in the first half for the Catalan Dragons. 1 try, 128 running meters, 2 tackle breaks, and a line break. One of the leading candidates, you'd have to think, to represent France at this year's World Cup.
You think so? It'll be disappointing if he doesn't get a spot in the starting 13 for the France's World Cup side at the end of the year. But he's just proven himself week in, week out that he is capable and that he's up for the occasion.
But there still has to be questions about Leeds. 0-3, things are going to slide from them very far if they don't turn this around and turn this around quick.
Yeah, exactly. Look, you have to keep on top of your game. If you want to be fighting for the top six. In the playoffs, yeah. You have to really be on top of your game. And right now, the for and against is -30, so it's getting a bit out of control pretty quickly.
Well, someone who is on the top of their game at the moment, it's the Wigan Warriors after a strong 22-12 showing over the Huddersfield Giants at the DW Stadium.
Yeah, look, we're getting to see the Wigan Warriors side that it's the good side of them. Because as we know, well, especially last year, we didn't know what side we were going to get week in, week out. But we're starting to get a bit more consistent of a pattern, which is the good Wigan Warriors side.
The strength of the Wigan back rowers, I got to say this. When you got Liam Farrell on one side, and then you got who's the hard run, Mr. Consistent, and then you get at the same thing with John Bateman, but he gets the more flamboyance. He's the big star in the second row. It's a lethal combination they're dealing with.
It certainly is, and that combination is only going to get stronger and stronger as the season progresses on, if they stay injury-free. So
the attack that Wigan have been using from their edges is putting themselves in the position to exploit defensive lines. Whether they're running the decoy or they're the ball runner themselves, they are key.
They certainly are. And every other team in the Super League will have to watch out for that, because if they don't shut them down early on in the game...
I mean, we saw... Oh, sorry for cutting you off, but we saw that with John Bateman. They didn't wrap the ball up, and he got out of the way for Jai Field to score a pivotal try for Wigan in that clash against Leeds.
Exactly, yeah. So they try to shut down the combination early on in the game and throughout the game for them to have a chance to capitalise in that area of the field. Otherwise, if they don't shut it down, well, you see what happened against Leeds and against Huddersfield. Absolute domination in that part of the field.
Of course, the Giants tried to throw their own punches very late in the piece, you would have to say. They were 6-all when Chris McQueen went over, with Ollie Russell really trying to dance his way through the defensive line.
Yes, he did. It was too little too late, though, for Huddersfield.
Well, the second try was definitely too late, but I tell you what, that setup. I think it was Ollie Russell, bombs, gets scooped up by Inesigne, then flick passes out the back when they think they got him wrapped up for Tui Loihea to go in the score.
Yeah. Where has that been, though? Like, I'm not saying they've been a shit side this year.
Well, it's only been 3 weeks, so we can only judge Huddersfield on a 2-1 performance thus far.
Yeah, but 2-1, it's not bad to start off the year.
I mean, a lot of clubs to be taking 2-1 right now, especially for those who still don't have a win on the board.
Yes, which are quite a few. Actually, I shouldn't say quite a few. Because there are, 3 teams that haven't had...
Castleford, Wakefield, Toulouse. I think those... And the Leeds Rhinos.
And the Leeds Rhinos, yes.
And so, yeah, not looking good for either one of those 4 sides.
I mean, like I said, only early on in the season, coming into round 4 out of 27. So there are still things...
But that table's starting to form up very quickly.
Yeah, we're starting to get a good read of who's whereabouts on the ladder at the moment. But you never know, things might happen.
And speaking of those back rowers, Liam Farrell, I think, was the standout performer here. 2 tries, 105 running meters, 4 tackle breaks, and 2 line breaks. I think those combinations with Jai Field and Cade Cuss are really unlocking the Wigan Warriors in attack.
They're starting to gel together well. And like I said, it's going to... Well, we'll see with the other combination. It's only going to get stronger as the year goes on. And especially in Farrell, he's very, very experienced. So he's quite capable of doing everything. And Field, well, he's young, same with Kate Custer, young, and they're coming through, but they're making a good burst onto the scene over in the Super League.
Especially Jai Field, given the year he had last year. But I would take this to heart if I was a Huddersfield fan. I felt like we had two strong performances. Well, I mean, considering one was Toulouse and then the highly fancied Hull KR, I would take that.
Yeah.
Especially against a Hull KR side that knocked off the Warrington Wolves 19-0 in the elimination final.
Yeah.
That's a real confidence builder. But right now, the Robins, and it's a perfect segue to get into it because I was going to say not doing so well, but they did come away with the win at the weekend, downing the Castleford Tigers 26 points to 10.
Adds misery to the Tigers season so far.
Yes, it certainly does that.
Hull KR though, they've been 2-1?
1-2 at the moment.
1-2, so 1 win and 2 losses. So
Yeah.
they could go 2-2. They could go 1-3, but let's hope it's 2-2. But they put in a good performance. Okay, they might have started off the season a bit slow, but they're starting to get back on the board.
They clicked into gear this time after not being able to click in against the Wigan Warriors, and then of course against Huddersfield they didn't really stand a chance.
No.
But against here, with pride on the line, just to try and get off the ground, they certainly have done that.
They certainly did, and with Castleford though, like Hull KR coming up against Castleford, I thought it was going to be a bit closer, but the rate of Castleford have been playing, it was going to be probably an easy victory for Hull KR in the end.
They had one good period when they tried to force the game to an even keel, or when Jordan Turner burst his way through the defence. But other than that, no real luck.
Even he hasn't been up to what he was like in 2021. Like, something's not right. Oh, wait, sorry, hang on. Jordan Turner. Am I thinking of Jordan Abdul? I get them mixed up. Anyway.
But what Hull KR showed in attack, and I got to feel sorry for Mikey Lewis, because he had a standout game, really. 83 running meters, 2 try assists, 2 tackle breaks, 1 offload, really getting the strike men onto the ball for the Robins. I mean, the Takarangi tries, you couldn't stop him from that close range, even if you did get your defensive line in order.
Yeah.
And then Sam Wood, well, horror nights in his first home appearance at Craven Park against the Wigan Warriors. 2 weeks later, he's got the hands right, and he's really stamping his authority here on that edge.
He certainly is. So he'll be probably, I'd say he'll be there for the rest of the season.
Depending if Ben Crooks is fit.
True. But if Ben Crooks comes back, you wouldn't be able to leave Woods out of the side. Surely not.
It would depend what KR coach Tony Smith decides. I think that has to be taken into consideration, that this is his side. We can only determine who we think is going to be in there on a weekly basis.
Yes.
But I think it just heavily depends on form at the moment.
Yeah, well, with Crooks being out, Wood's got the form easy over him. But you have to wait and see if and when Ben Crooks comes back. When is he due back?
I'm not sure.
It should be soon.
But with Sam Wood, the 2 tries he scored, and then the try assist he set it up for, well, sort of like the assisting try assist that helped put Matt Parcell underneath the sticks. Once he goes under, Castleford, they've lost control of the game.
They did.
And it didn't help that they had 2 men in the sin bin, one of them being Liam Lotz, who almost separated Mikey Lewis's head from his shoulders.
Yes, he'll be out for, 4 or 5 weeks?
I don't think we've had a disciplinary wrap-up just yet.
So he'll be out for up to at least a month, I would say.
I'm not necessarily going to preempt on the matter. I don't think... Only the tribunal would sort of be able to weigh in on such a ruling.
I could be wrong though, depending on how severe it was, but he could be out for a long period of time, which is not going to help their cause at all.
No, I don't think it helps them in the slightest. Yes, but Lee Radford's in a bit of trouble here, I think.
I'd say so.
He is staring down the very real possibility of going 0-4 to start his Castleford career.
Not a good way to start.
No.
And if the Castleford go 0-4, pressure start building onto him, and he could be gone. Maybe. I'm not saying he will, but if things don't turn around fast, then the pressure will start building.
Yeah.
And we might get to that stage.
I think there needs to be a major readjustment at the jungle before things just run out of control.
Yes, and it has to happen from round 4 onwards, otherwise Castleford aren't going to be nowhere.
Well, the Tigers are currently sitting 0-3, have lost their last 5 fixtures straight. Hey. Meantime, at the other end of the table, the reigning champions and St Helens once again too strong for Wakefield Trinity, running out 20-4 winners.
What?
Just another perfect performance from St Helens.
I was going to say, what was there to say about this game? Like, we knew St Helens was going to win this one. I thought it might have been a few more points on the board than 20. I thought it might have been 30 or higher. But that shows that Wakefield have improved based on last year, but it's still a long way to go, though.
It's still a long way, but it's this reality check that I said. They're now under the pump. This is not like, oh, there's only 7 games left in the season, we're not going to make the playoffs, so we're just going to have fun. No. You're in a realistic position to make the playoffs. And so far, it has not gone well.
No, they're one of the other sides have got 0-3 to start the year.
But out of all the sides without a win, they only just have the second best attack and the best defense.
With the for and against being minus 22 on the ladder.
Yep.
Narrowly ahead of Leeds, who's got minus 30. So, look, if Trinity lose by a big margin, and they could easily slip down to 10th.
3 scores. If they concede 3 tries against the Leeds Rhinos this Friday, they will drop below Castleford, depending on result. But Saints left edge, I think, shifting Tommy Makinson to that left edge. Of course, he is a right side winger, but I think we have to expect that they have to be as versatile as they can to play both sides of the field. But I gotta say, his combination with Mark Percival, who I think was the best performer for Saints on ground, and of course scoring 2 tries, 110 running meters, 2 offloads, and a line break. And we got to remember, Mark Percival is not what he seems. He's actually pretty strong.
He is. He may not look like it, but he actually is. And
I mean, if you only have to watch the footage of Mark Percival, he looks hard to tackle, and he'll slice through you like a hot knife through butter.
Exactly. He certainly will. And that just comes down to the experience he's had too, and really just reading the game well and being in a competitive side.
I would definitely say competitive side. And when you get a good base with Walmsley and Knowles laying the platform, and the flamboyance that Jack Wellesby and Lewis Dodd provide with that youthful spark, I predicted St Helens to finish 3rd. Right now, they're looking to finish with the League Leaders Shield again.
Yeah, well, I haven't finished as 2nd, so...
And right now, they're on track to do so for now.
Well, you can't get too much into it, because it's only round 4. Or coming into round 4, so...
Yeah, exactly. I did like Trinity trying to throw at least one punch in this game. That the kick, I think it was from Harry Bowes, was it? Or was it the other half that Trinity... I can't think of the name right off the top of my head, that set up that nice little passage of play for Tom Johnston to score.
I think it might have been that name that you mentioned, Harry Bowes. Correct us if we're wrong.
Brad Wall. Jacob Miller, Brad Walker. There was no... Harry Bowes was actually playing dummy half.
Oh, well, there you go.
So we'll just double check the statistic. It's for Trinity. So he... that's right, they're down. So it wasn't Harry Bowes, so Brad Walker with the try assist.
Well, there you go. That was a
Considering
good
there's only
little
one.
setup play right there. That's pretty much the only thing that was going
That went for Wakefield.
Exactly.
And the fact that David Fafita got yellow carded, yes, he did come back after not initially being included in the Wakefield side. Wakefield squad announcement. So he is back and gets red carded in his first game.
Yeah, not a good way to come back into the squad to go see you later again. I don't know how long he's going to be out for or anything.
Well, at this rate, we don't have any accurate information to say if he's staying or how long he's going to be out for. But what we do know is it's not an ideal time to cop suspension.
No, it's not.
And with 3 other teams without a win, you don't want to miss a game that could really turn the tide your favour.
No, you certainly don't. And so early on in the season too. I suppose it's good to get over and done with at the start of the season, at the end of the season, but it's also got its pros and cons too, because it's over at the start of the season, you can be there for the rest of the season, and if your team's fighting for the playoffs, you could be right there. But if it happens at the back end of the season, and your team's playing there, well then your team could slide off, so yeah. Just bad timing, really.
Moves and counter moves, that's all it is.
Yes.
Now, speaking of moves, Hull FC, well, I underestimated them. A 48-16 demolition job over the Salford Red Devils.
Yes.
I only got 2 words to say for this game. Jake Connor.
Yeah, he had a cracking up the game. And destroyed the Salford defence.
We're not even underestimating this. By default, he is the standout for the Black and Whites. 1 try, and then, ready for this, 6 try assists in 1 game. Superb kicking game, 91 running meters, 3 tackle breaks, 1 offload, and 2 from 4 goals converted.
Brilliant game from Jake Connor.
Hull just ran out early. Just like, alright, they got smacked about by St. And it's last time out, so it's just like, alright, let's try and avoid that this time. We'll smack around Salford. We'll give them the reality check to say, alright, Mr. Big Shots, you're 2-0, you got our ex-captain coming back here to his old stomping ground. We're going to stomp on you. Who cares if we don't have Luke Gale?
And that's exactly what happened. Look, I thought...
It was just like, you could have Ben McNamara in there, who was playing scrum half, and Hull didn't break a sweat.
No. Well, I thought that with Mark Sneyd being at Salford, coming up against his old club, I thought Salford could win this because Sneyd would go inside out and want to try and win against his old club at his old home ground in his new colours. But the complete opposite happened. And to make things matters worse, Mark Sneyd got sent to the sin bin, yellow card.
Which, as we all know, opportunity for the attacking side against weakened defences.
Yes.
But the kicking game with Jake Connor, I just can't get this out of my head. Just like the bullet passes, especially when Manu Manu, I think it was, crashed over at close range.
Yes.
Then you get the tries for Darnell McIntosh and Cameron Scott out on the right edge with these perfectly weighted grubber kicks. And then the crossfield kick, or the grubber, that sets up nicely for Josh Reynolds on top of the try for Jordan Lane.
Yeah.
Well, one of them anyway.
Well, that just shows that Hull FC were in complete domination.
Oh, that might have actually been Joe Lavadua, actually. Not Manu Mau. Oh, yeah, Lavadua was playing second row.
Well,
So, my bad, I've done that again.
either way, Hull FC were dominant. Start, finish. Salford had absolutely no answer. To have 2-0 start and now have 2-1, it's not bad.
But it's just turned into a massive reality check.
Works. Yes. And Hull FC, I knew this game was going to be close, so
But is this going to be another instance of the Jekyll and Hyde that they've been notorious for in recent years?
Who knows? Oh, who knows? Only time will tell. And well,
But
yeah,
I will say the Tim Laffey try.
that was
A brilliant take.
It certainly was. It was kind of taken out of. I didn't think he was going to get that ball. To be quite honest with you, I thought it was going to go in Hull FC's favour, but right place, right time.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? That's where you want to be.
And with Laffey's experience, I know he's not much in the Super League, but he's had a fair bit in the NRL. He knows what he can do and what place to be at the right time. And like I said, right place, right time, and it resulted in his try.
And Brodie Croft running the ball, I think that's what we've lampooned Croft so many times. Well, at least the NRL media has.
Yeah.
But the running game with Croft, I think that's his greatest strength.
Yeah. That's what I said when we previewed Salford. Sneed did a kicking, Croft would do the running. And we were just showing that Croft did do the running. And he has done that pretty much all season long.
Yeah, and did have some success early on, but reality check. Interesting to see how they bounce back after this.
It will be interesting to see, and have to go from there, really.
Now, speaking of bouncing back, Toulouse Olympique, yet another loss, this time going down to the Warrington Wolves, 32 points to 18.
All I can say is Toulouse is good at consistently getting points on the board, and in double figures too.
Well, they haven't been nilled this year, which I suppose is something to be proud of.
And also being in double figures. All their points come at the end of the match has been double figures. So that's another good, I believe is a good thing. But they just can't get the W yet.
Even though there was no Gareth Woodham to this game, Darryl Powell feeling confident enough to run with Riley Dean at standoff with George Williams. It just looked like Warrington was in cruise control.
It certainly was, but in all honesty, what would you have expected with Warrington coming up and the newcomers to lose? Like, I don't want to bag out to lose. Yes, they did put in a good performance, but coming up against a side like Warrington, there was kind of going to be one-way traffic from the start.
I mean, they tried throwing the ball around, but again, there are downsides to this, and I think it was very clearly shown with the lead up to the George Williams try where Pete Matadier intercepts it and just unleashes Williams into the backfield.
Yes. That's just, where was the defence there to lose? Like, there was nowhere.
Well, they only had a penalty goal to show for in the first half before laying on 3 tries in the second half, and I think you could argue Warrington slipped. They put their foot off the accelerator that allowed Toulouse 3 tries on the board.
Yeah. But it was just only a little bit, but that's because Warrington slipped. If Warrington hadn't slipped up, it could have been a lot worse for them.
It definitely could have been a lot worse for Toulouse, but they were able to hang on. I mean, Ollie Ashall-Bott got on the board in his first game for the Olympic. Very, very quick.
Yes.
Indeed after sort of a very haphazard exit from Huddersfield. Ild signing on, I think, till the end of the 2025 campaign.
I believe so. I could be wrong. Well,
Oh, yeah. Scores a try on debut. Guy Armitage, I've been impressed with.
Yes.
He've come, in at right centre and get a bit more game time, get a bit more fitness, and
he has been playing in the last couple of games for Toulouse. Well, I think since round 1, game 1 for Toulouse, he's been there.
Yeah, I want to see Sylvain Houle use him more in attack. I think a bit like Jordan Turner at the moment. And big body could definitely cause some havoc on a defensive line and just see how it goes.
Yeah, and with the more game experience he gets, the better he will be. And like you said, with the attacking, the more he attacks, the better he will be. So he's starting to fill that centre spot nicely.
But I will give the standout performance to Josh Charnley, who, with 2 tries, 56 run meters, a tackle break, and 2 line breaks, but most importantly, the 2 tries, he now moves third outright for the top try scorers in the history of the Super League competition.
Yeah, right. Good on him.
The only 2 men in front of him at the moment who are still playing, Ryan Hall, 212 tries from memory, and Danny Maguire, the leading top try scorer of all time.
Wow, so that's a big achievement there from Josh Charnley. And he's fairly young still too, isn't he?
Young-ish, yeah. 201 tries to Charnley's name, passing Keith Sr. of the Leeds Rhinos fame. And of course, Ryan Hall, 212, veteran winger. And the only player to chase down now is Danny Maguire. But at 247 tries, I don't think you're going to be chasing him down anytime soon.
You never know. Charnley, he scores pretty consistently in every game. At least 1 try per game. You get sometimes 2 or 3. But it's a good sign. He'll be obviously trying to hunt down the all-time record. So will be Ryan Hall.
At this stage, I think second outright all-time try scorer is realistic for Josh Charnley.
Will depend how Ryan Hall goes as well, because Ryan Hall's still playing.
Well, if OKR click into gear, it'll be an interesting contest to say the least.
So if Ryan Hall doesn't start scoring and Charnley keeps on going, well, we could see it happen this season, maybe.
It could be possible.
Could be.
Could be possible. But yeah, another strong result for the Warrington Wolves, though I think that fade out that allowed Toulouse to get back within striking distance almost.
Yeah.
But that halftime deficit that got overturned almost. I was considering Warrington ran out to a 16-2 lead, and the scoreline read 18-16 in the second half, Toulouse's way.
Yeah.
It's 1 half at a time. That's all it is. If Toulouse get that first half right, look out.
Could be in for something. Yeah, exactly.
Now, looking at round 4 fixtures of the Betfred Super League, we begin at the Be Well Support Stadium with Wakefield Trinity hosting the Leeds Rhinos. And I tell you what, there are some massive ins for Leeds right now. David Fuzzatua back in the squad, as is Harry Newman and Reece Martin, all back in the side for Richard Agar, and he badly needs these players in at the moment.
He certainly does, and it's coming at a very, very good time indeed. Coming up against I was going to say average side, but a team that's 0-3 to start the year.
It's not looking good for Trinity at all. And they haven't really. I don't think Mason Lee. Well, no, Mason Lee has been
in the squad, and so is Dave Fafita.
Well, we've probably seen that they've deemed Fafita's actions not that severe, warranting discipline, so he might be free to play against the Rhinos, but I'm looking at Wakefield from what I have seen. I am not impressed one bit by what Trinity have offered up.
No.
They almost pushed the Catalan Dragons, but they couldn't back it up the following week against the reigning champions, and going down to Hull didn't help their case either.
No, it certainly didn't. But Wakefield, they were showing good form, good-ish form at the back of this last season.
They were showing promise
and
in these opening 3 games, but...
And they can't carry it on into this season, which is what they needed to do.
Leeds, on the other hand, have had 2 games that were in the balance and one that they absolutely got destroyed in. The games against Warrington and Catalan were the games that they had skin in.
Yes.
But they couldn't convert into a win. So, the question is, can they convert here against a fellow Yorkshire rival?
Yeah.
And still with and with Tom Liner missing, that's another player Trinity can't afford to lose.
No, they certainly can't. They need him out on the park, week in, week out, to try and help get them on the board. He could be the player that they're missing. I don't know.
Well, it depends. I mean, Miller's there, Leno's there, Max Jowett's at fullback, so what's stopping Wakefield
Well,
right
that's
now?
if Leno plays too, because Leno has been playing much this season, if not at all this season, so that could be a difference as well. I don't know.
I see two desperate sides that will be in Wakefield trying to start their season proper at the moment. I can only see this in the lens that the Leeds Rhinos will get at the win first. I think Leeds in this 1-6. I think things with Austin and Caesar finally click, and I think having reinforcements helps their cause.
Well, I'm going to say Leeds Rhinos, but in a greater margin of 7-12. I'm not convinced by Wakefield, and I think Leeds, they haven't been the best either, but they're the better side than what Wakefield are.
I think Willie Poaching is probably bitten off a bit more than chew with this week against the Rhinos.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to the Halliwell Jones Stadium, it's the Warrington Wolves up against the Catalan Dragons. Now, I tell you, these fixtures have been crackers in the last few outings.
They certainly have been. Although, will this one be the same? The rate on Catlin's form at the moment?
Well, we don't know if Sam Tompkins is going to be available for this fixture, as he was seen on the bench at the back end of the victory over the Rhinos. Meanwhile, Dudson's still 1 week away, Dylan Napa's a fortnight, and Julian Bousquet is still several weeks away.
Yeah.
They can't afford to lose another key player, and especially coming in against a red-hot Wolves side.
That is certainly the case there, but I don't know who. I know it's hard to tell what Catalans is going to bring out. I'd say they are missing the likes of Dudson, Napa, Bousquet, if I got that correct.
Yep, you got that right.
And like I said, they cannot afford to get a key player, because if they get another key player gone, well then things could turn ugly very quickly. But like you said, Gil Dudson's only a week out, so he'll be back for round 5.
Round 5, yes.
So that would be good for Catalans there, but they need him back this week, not next week. They need all their players back that are out at the moment.
They just need to get ready and firing. That's just what needs to happen. They just need to click.
They certainly do. But can they do it over Warrington?
Oh, that's the
Because Warrington are in a bloody good form at the moment.
Well, even without Gareth Widdop, Warrington played exceptionally well, even though it was against Toulouse Olympique. But we're not going to knock them for this. Yes, I would just think to tighten up on their defence again, and not really. I think goal line when they let Stefani in at the last minute against Toulouse, I think that was not good. That their market defence should have been a lot better. And then just go from there. I think try and contain any onslaught from what Toulouse provided in that second half.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. But they'll have to, like you said, tighten the defence, but even more so against Catalans. But we don't know if Sam Tompkins is playing, or we don't know if Gareth Widdop's playing either. No doubt Widdop will be maybe playing. I'll say he'll be playing as well.
Catalan has had a good fortnight, but I think Warrington's going to finish the month off on a high note. I think the Wolves win this 7 points to 12.
I'm not convinced that Catalan will win, to be quite honest. They've been putting in scrappy performances and getting away with wins I say just, but not by 1 point. I'm going to say Warrington. I'm contemplating whether to go 7-12 or 13 plus. You know what? Warrington 13 plus.
So you're calling a big win?
I'm not convinced by Catalans until they get the players of Napa, Brusque, and Dodson back, I'm not convinced.
Well, if you're not convinced by that, have a look at the other Friday night fixture. Well, Saturday morning from our perspective. Hull KR hosting the reigning champions St Helens.
Well, what can we say about this one?
St Helens 13 plus, I think. Even though the Robins broke the back of losses that they had going into this clash, Saints have just stood up and slayed every single opposition they've had in their wake.
So they're 3-0. They're going to go 4-0.
And Hull KR go 1-3. I think they can't stop Alex Walmsley at this rate.
No.
And Jack Wellesby is just that much of an enigma. You don't know what he's going to do next. And Lewis Dodd on top of that.
Yeah.
And if they get Hopewadi and Regan Grace back for this game, that's a full-strength St. Helens lineup. With Conrad Hurrell, you've got to worry about as the impact player.
Yes. When St. Helens is full strength, even how they are at the moment, they are still unstoppable. I agree. St. Helens 13 plus. Hull KR will have points on the board. Don't get me wrong, but it won't be enough to beat St. Helens at all.
Well, if it won't be enough to beat the Saints, feel sorry for Toulouse. They have to host the Wigan Warriors coming to the Stade Ernest Wallon.
So this one, Wigan is second and Toulouse is last. So Wigan have been very good this year, I have to say. They're 3-0. 3-2. 3?
3-0.
3-0.
And I think they'll be the third club to go 4-0. I think this will be a Wigan 13 plus victory over the Olympique. I just don't think Toulouse's defence is ready for this.
No, they're not. They like you said, they get the first half right and continue what they've been doing in the second half. That'll be okay.
What they did in the second half against Warrington, I will have to say, but
yeah, but they need to do that consistently, not just against one side. And they have, like I said, they've been getting double digits all the games they've played so far. I'd say they're going to get into double digits again based on what they've been doing. But I still reckon Wigan are going to win 13 plus.
Yeah, it just honestly looks like a Wigan victory.
Yep.
Now going from the south of France to the very north of England, the Huddersfield Giants playing host to the Salford Red Devils.
Well, Salford definitely got a big wake-up call against Hull FC last time out. As for Huddersfield, they went down to Wigan by 10 points.
Yes, they did. It's just that.
So they could possibly beat Salford, but it's depending on what Salford do too, and how they bounce back from getting humiliated by Hull FC.
It is the question that has to be asked. And now that Theo Farge has served his one-match ban, he's now free to play.
So Salford will be able to shut him down quick if they have a chance of winning.
I think this will be the first time the first choice spine for Ian Watson will play. I think you'll have Will Price at fullback, or off the interchange if they stick with Ollie Russell. But you'll have Price, Lollahea, and Farge all playing together. And then they get Danny Levi back the week later. So then that's a full-strength Huddersfield spine you're working with.
Yeah, which looks dangerous on paper.
And in practice is
pretty much the same as well.
bore fruits to this point.
Salford will need to improve the defence again.
I don't think the Giants are going to take a backward step here. I think they know what standards they have to meet, and I think they'll try and take the lessons of that defeat and they'll apply them here.
So you're saying Huddersfield to win?
7-12. I think Salford 2 will try and start fast, but I think the Giants have the poise and really Theo Farge's management to really put a rubber stamp on this. Giants 7-12.
I'm going to say the Giants win as well, based on Salford's performance last week was not good enough at all. But I'm going to say 1-6 in favour of Huddersfield for this one. It'll be a decent scrap, but it'll be a high end, so probably more likely Oh, she'll win by 6 more than anything else.
Depending how the grounds have fared up after Storm Eunice.
True.
And finally, in round 4 of the Betfred Super League, it's the Castleford Tigers at home to Hull FC. Well, we've already discussed the Tigers' woes and the fact that in the last 5 years, Castleford have not enjoyed playing against Hull FC.
No, and the performance the Hull FC did put in against Salford and Castleford 0-3 to start the year, it's kind of an easy one to pick. Although home ground advantage...
Home ground advantage when they've lost a Hull on their home patch.
Is not good?
No.
So...
I think this will be the first time the Black and Whites go back-to-back this year. I think Jake Connor will play a huge role again. And then I think this will be what Brett Hodgson wants. He finally wants Hollisey to shake the Heckle and Jive tags and show that Hollisey are in fact a very serious side looking for the playoffs.
So, Hull FC...
This will be another 7-12 victory for Hollisey. Castleford, they're in free fall at the moment. I gotta say that the Tigers have not looked convincing at all.
They certainly haven't. I'm going to go against Castleford, so they're just nowhere this season, and I don't know what's gotten into them. But I'm going to say Hull FC again, 13 plus. The form that they showed against Salford, and they've been a little inconsistent, but not too bad. So, but they carry on the form, and if Jake Connor's on his game again, it's going to be a Hull FC 13 plus.
Yeah, it's just going to turn into an ugly result for the Castleford Tigers and for Lee Radford, who was sacked by Hull live on air in 2020, now coming up against his former club, and this will be salt into the wounds.
Yes.
And finally, instead of our Betfred Championship spotlight, it's in fact the Betfred Challenge Cup spotlight, because half of the all the championship was in the Challenge Cup, and the Leigh Centurions, a dominant 38-4 victory over the Widnes Vikings.
Yeah, it certainly was. And coming against Widnes was a bit of a surprise victory, I would say. I thought Widnes would have put in more of a fight based on what they've been showing in the championship.
It was just an absolute landslide. Caleb Akins, with 2 tries in 10 minutes, and then with a hat-trick on top of that, it's just like every half chance Leigh got, they were able to convert, and it looked like Widnes didn't even have a chance.
No, they certainly didn't, but why couldn't Leigh do this in the Super League last year? They can come and do this in the
in the fourth round of the Challenge Cup.
In the Challenge Cup, they can do that, but then when they were in the Super League, they couldn't. And Widnes, with the performances they've been doing in the Championship, they couldn't do that in the Challenge Cup. So it's kind of roles reversed, to be quite honest with you.
It does seem that way, but just focusing on the game itself, they shoot out to a 3-try lead in 17 minutes.
That's unbelievable.
16-0 after 17 minutes, a double to Caleb Akins, and Ed Chamberlain scoring his 100th try in the Championship.
Good on him.
Widnes tried to fight back, but couldn't do it enough.
No, they couldn't. I thought Widnes would have got more points than only 4 points. That's not good enough. If they want to be beating sides like the Centurions that are better than them, they need to beat them in Challenge Cups, because Challenge Cups is full of upsets.
Well, the Challenge Cup is a knockout tournament.
Yes.
But
and
I think
upsets can occur.
it could also play in Widnes' favour, because now they don't have to go into the 5th round of the Cup, and in the 6th round, what they will have to play off against the 11 Super League sides, considering that Toulouse have decided not to partake in the Challenge Cup.
That's interesting. Is that the focus more on the Super League campaign?
I think it's mainly the championship campaign with Widnes. Currently sitting 4-0 at the moment, and I think now that they're out, they're now free to try and pursue their next objective. if when it comes to round 5 of the championship, they don't have to worry about the cup anymore. Disappointing that they're not going to make it.
Yeah.
It's having reached their place, but when you got 10 clubs in the championship gunning for one spot in the sixth round of the cup with quarterfinals berth at stake,
Yeah.
they're looking at their closest rivals. They're looking at the round 5 clash between the Bradford Bulls and Leigh. Leigh are currently sitting third. Bradford can jump into the top 6 at some point. Featherstone's also in the cup, so even though Simon Finnegan and his men will be disappointed, they're now thinking, all right, so York, Featherstone, well, mainly it's just Leigh and Featherstone, the two nearest rivals to them, they're going to go even further. Then they got Barrow and Newcastle inside the top 6. So they're thinking, all right, so we got half of the top 6 inside the final stages of the cup leading up to the quarterfinals. If they suffer a flat patch, we can capitalise on that.
They certainly can. Whether or not they have a flat patch is a different story.
But yeah, I think good victory for Leigh, especially with the Caleb Aikens hat-trick. I think.
Yeah. He didn't get a crack much here in NRL with Canberra. Like, he did play a few games, but this is really his time to shine.
Yeah, didn't have much opportunities at Penrith. Didn't have much opportunities with Canberra.
I forgot about Penrith, yeah.
But good start for him so far, and potentially call up for Wales at the World Cup at the end of the year.
Maybe.
And just want to get your final thoughts, because Shaun Wayne, speaking of the World Cup, his first train-on squad for England has been named. Of course, this is not counting the NRL contingent at the moment, but this is the 30 men he has named. Bateman, Darryl Clark, Cooper, Curry, Davies, Dodd, Evalds, Farrell, Hall, Hardacre, Knowles, Leeming, Lees, Lomax, Lynn, McGilvery, McShane, Makinson, Marshall, Newman, Oledsky, Pierce Hall, Percival, Ratchford, Sargentson, Tompkins, Walmsley, Jake Wardle, Wellesby, and George Williams.
It's a very strong training squad.
It's very interesting, and considering just focusing on the England players alone, on the Super League side of the world, no Gareth Widdop and no Luke Gale, and no Jake Connor either, which is
very, very surprising indeed. But then you have all the NRL players that you have to throw in the mix.
Both the Burgess brothers, Tom and George, Luke Thompson, Josh Hodgson, Elliot Whitehead, and Oliver Gildart. Those are probably the few names I would be also throwing into this train-on squad to be selected for the World Cup when it rolls around in October.
So, but as is, it's still a very strong squad. Even when you throw the NRL England players in there as well, it's stronger again. So, barring injuries and that come the end of the year, England could be in for... I know it's only a training squad, so I'm not reading into it too much. But if a lot of those players, which I'd say that will be in the 17 for the World Cup games, that will be in contention.
I think you'd have to think there are 3 joint favourites to take out the World Cup at this stage. Of course, Australia, having slipped the 4th, but are still the reigning World Cup champions.
Yes.
The Kiwis and England. Tonga just slightly behind
I
them.
was going to say, what about Tonga? Because they're more likely to be up there.
But no, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Shaun Wayne's England side, and I think they'll, out of all the top 4 nations, England are getting the best benefit out of this.
Because it's on their home turf.
That, and the fact this will be their 3rd match they'll play in the run-up to the World Cup. When you look at Australia, New Zealand, and Tonga have not played a single test match in what will be 3 years heading into a World Cup year.
Well, technically, the World Cup you should have been last year, but yes.
But that's not good enough. Not good enough. You're expecting Mal Meninga and Michael Maguire, as well as Christian Wolf, they're expecting to go into the World Cup as joint favourites. And their sides have not played a single test match in 3 years.
Are we seeing test matches this year?
We've got England and the Combined Nations All-Stars. Maybe also an England-France test match. And then they've got a warm-up match against Fiji, I think, still on on to be played at Rochdale's
What
home
about New
ground.
Zealand, Australia, and Tonga?
Nope. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's interesting right there.
I mean, you're asking, especially in terms of the Australian side, you're asking Mal Meninga to put together a Kangaroo side where the combinations are so vastly different, and the unit that was assembled in the loss to Tonga, half of those players won't be even there anymore.
No.
Because right now,
It'll be a younger squad. The Kangaroos.
it'll be a whole new side to the last one that ran out 3 years ago. Because you'll start Tedesco at fullback, but now you'll have wingers Gagai and Addo Carr, centers Mitchell and Tom.
What about Toto?
And Tom Trebojevic.
Yeah.
Well, I'm only doing this on the assumption that Toto eventually chooses Samoa.
Yeah.
Halves will be Munster and Cleary.
Oh.
Then you got
Cherry Evans.
I don't think Cherry Evans will get. I think Cherry Evans will be overlooked. If not, backup halfback should Cleary go down.
How I understand stuff is that Cherry Evans is the favourite ahead of Cleary.
Well, I think Mal's completely got that wrong, and I know this is
I don't think Mal Meninga said that. I think that's what experts have said. So.
Well, Mal has also come out and said he doesn't see Nathan Cleary in his Kangaroos lineup. In his mind, Daly Cherry Evans is the best halfback in the NRL.
He's not though, but yeah.
Nathan Cleary, and I don't usually like saying this because I think around that Panthers unit there is a level of cockiness and arrogance that no one can stand.
Yeah.
But if you just look at the raw fact, Nathan Cleary is the best halfback at this stage in the Premiership.
It's like Tom Trbojevic been the best fullback at this stage.
But he will play right centre because James Tedesco is still there.
Exactly.
But look, Australia needs to sort their shit out. This obsession with state of origin as the pinnacle of rugby league, and I know a lot of people do consider origin the pinnacle of our sport.
It is, but representing your country is the pinnacle.
It should be the pinnacle. International rugby league should always be first and foremost the pinnacle of our sport. Because think of it this way. Jason Taumalolo, Andrew Fifita, who are they going to have more pride playing for? Queensland and New South Wales? Or the Kingdom of Tonga, especially
Tonga
within recent events.
Tonga.
With the eruption and the flooding that has occurred. They will want to play for Tonga. They don't care about origin anymore.
Or even when Tonga played in 2017 World Cup, how much passion there was between those two players, like for those two players to play for Tonga.
There was. And that's heaps. What the game should be built on.
Other than Australia, I'm actually going to go for Tonga.
Well, for the way Australia and New Zealand have treated the Rugby Football League, I'm going to be playing the bad guy here. I'm happy to do it. I'm back in England. I'll back England in just to finger up at us and the Kiwis for derailing the World Cup in the first place.
Fair enough.
Well, now I will open the floor to you, the audience, on our discussions, because that is full time from us here. If you like this installment or the NRL installment before that, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the Sideline Chat podcast, and click that bell for notifications so you never miss a week of rugby league action. Hope you enjoy round 2 of the NRL LW, and of course round 4 of the Betfred Super League will be on. But don't go anywhere, because next week it is preview time for round 1 of the 2022 NRL season. Don't forget to follow us on our social medias on Facebook and on Instagram. It is Sideline Chat, and on Twitter it is Sideline Chat RL. Along with Mark Hendry, I'm Connor Marcellus, and you have been listening to the Sideline Chat. We'll see you next week.
Just before you end this, I would like to say a big thank you to all our followers, subscribers, and that for
50 episodes.
For our 50 episodes. We've enjoyed your your engagement with our pages and with our episodes, and helping us keep on going on. It's been a long time. We finally got to the half century. Let's make it 50 more and beyond.
I'll drink to that. We'll see you next week.
See you, folks.